comes to mind.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning into the BAMF podcast, actual play Monday lunchtime demos. And we're not doing a demo because Walt's wife broke her leg and he's at the doctor's office and Aid didn't make it. So instead, Dale and Jason are going to tell us all about Castles and Crusades, which is a fun OS Thunder game.
Well, this all started like a couple of weeks ago after one of these sessions, and Jason and I were chatting afterwards, and I had mentioned that I'd really like to try some DMing in this format, and I'm running a special game, a special Friday drop-in game every second week on the Troll Lord Games Discord, running their Castles and Crusades rule set. And then Jason, he said, hey, that's one I've always been interested in, and I've heard a few things about it. What can you tell me about it? So since then, my blackness has corrupted Jason's soul. He's gone out and bought numerous books at the expense of his livelihood and probably will live in a ditch this fall. And he's torquing up on his CNC. And then I saw Jason sometime in the last few days on TLG asking questions, and then discussion ensued about CNC on Foundry, which is Jason's favorite platform, and I kind of lost track of it after that. So where's your head on all of that, Jason? I think you had mentioned briefly you looked at some of the coding aspects of CNC for Foundry, and but again, I never got the tail end of that.
Yeah, so I'm professionally I'm a software developer and web developer, but I was looking into possibly coding some for CNC, and I was just inquiring if there's a code base already out there, and Foundry has like a basic generic code set that you can use for any system really, but for people who want a little bit more automation and something more specific. It really require a systems module, and I was kind of looking into if there was one already started, or if anybody would be interested in it. I haven't made any decisions one way or another.
No, I didn't think you had, and I certainly don't mean to put you on the spot in any way. I just wanted to catch you up on that. So speaking more generically then about Castles and Crusades, you've done some reading and things like that. We've discussed a few things. I'll just say that Castles, I'm not a spokesman for Troll Lord Games. How I got involved with CNC was about 15 years ago. I wanted to introduce some new players to Dungeons & Dragons. But of course, AD&D books beyond the second edition weren't anything I was familiar with. And of course, you couldn't find those books, the second edition books, to save your life for more than an arm and a leg. So I started looking for, there were a couple of things I had in mind. One is I wanted it to be simple for newbies to pick up. And for me, that meant, and this is heresy, abandoning THACO in favor of the D20 norm of ascending AC. Just because out of all the things ever trying to teach people D&D over the years, they always go, why is everything better when it's higher except my armor class? And I mean, there are a billion reasons for that. We can go into that. I'll let you read up on Gary and his history. But essentially, I just wanted one more question to avoid having to answer as a dungeon master, right? Yeah. And I looked at a couple of things. I started with a basic fantasy RPG, which I really liked. I believe that Chris Gonerman does that. I believe that's his product. And he gives it away for free. If you want to buy a book, then you'll pay for a printed book. But if you're okay with just PDFs, then yeah, he gives it away. And it's a really good, light, generic D20 system. But it just, I was still shopping around. I looked at sorcery and wizardry and a couple of others. And then I heard about this siege mechanic that Castles and Crusades was using. And then the people at Troll Lords have a bit of an association with Gary Gygax as well. And I thought, okay, this is one I have to look at. And so the siege mechanic is pretty cinchy. Depending upon race, you have your normal 6 attributes. You choose a class. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, Abe just joined the chat. Hey, Abe.
Hello. How are we doing?
We're doing all right. We were
I'm-
talking about Castles and Crusades because we weren't sure we were going to be playing today. But
Cool. Castles and Crusades, very good. Like, nice little system. Very cool.
It's not bad.
Your sales pitch.
So the major, I'm just going to go a little bit more here. The major mechanic is you out of your 6 attributes, you get to designate some as primary and secondary, and everything in the system, not everything, but pretty much everything is tied to this key attribute check. So if you want to make a saving throw, you throw an attribute check, and if it's a prime attribute, then your target number is a base 12. If it's a secondary attribute, then your target number is a base 18. And both of those can be modified as usual, depending upon, if you're attacking, defending, casting, doing a knowledge check, anything like that. No 3rd edition style skills, so that's not in there. And that goes for saving throws. And then they have other things that go with the siege mechanic that help differentiate some of the classes. And as an example, I like to use the fighter. You always think, fighter, the oldest class in the world. There's hardly anything new about that. How could you improve that? Well, how about this? Everyone gets a bonus to hit based on their level, but only fighters start with a bonus to hit at 1st level, and it goes up every level. Right? So if you do weapon specialization, you can get as much as a +3 or +4 to hit as a 1st level character as a fighter. Everyone else gets a bonus to hit starting at 2nd level, but no one else gets it every level. Some will go up once every 3, some once every 2, and there are a lot of little subtleties in the system that are simple and straightforward like that, that make it really fast playing and easy to do without losing that old school feel where you're rolling dice and trying to strategize with your arrows or with your sword. So that's the basics of the game. I could sit here and talk forever, but I'm already sucking the air out of the room as it is.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of jumped on it. I was kind of interested in OSR, as a family guy and getting older. You have less time and you have less energy for fiddly stuff, and it's really a neat little system that is easy to bolt whatever rule you want onto it.
Yeah, that was one thing that when they were designing it, apparently, was to make it as easy as possible to take all your old 1st or 2nd edition AD&D stuff and just drop it into Castles and Crusades. For AC, it's as simple as subtracting from 19 your AD&D AC to get your AC in the Ascending world. And then with critters, it's pretty simple. They're almost a complete port over with the exception of hit dice, whereas AD&D was crazy about saying things like, it has 4 + 4 hit dice. They simplify and say, got 4 hit dice. And that's your total monster conversion right there. Everything else is, fiddle it however you want. It is it is considered rules light because of that. And there's a lot of stuff that isn't defined, which may be harder on the newer game master. That hasn't got a few adventures under their belt, because you go looking for a rule. What I do all the time is I go looking for a rule that I remember playing in AD&D and I can't find it in CNC, and then I get all, am I losing my mind, which is a distinct possibility, or am I misremembering something? And then you find out, the concept is mentioned someplace in the player's handbook, but it's not really defined, because that's your purview. Make the game yours, right? And that's very central to the whole concept as well.
Yeah.
Hey,
So anyway, I recently found what they actually put together as an introductory adventure and stuff like that. So I may be running you guys through an introductory adventure based on CNC sometime in the near future.
That sounds very
I
cool.
would be up for that. Do we want to do that for Savage Pathfinder? Okay. Aid has joined us from across the pond. Hello, Aid.
Hello.
Do we want to go ahead and try the adventure with Dale, Aid, and myself?
I don't mind. It's up to you. I mean, I know Walt is not going to be about. If you want to hang for Walt again, that's fine. If you want to just have a chat, I'm all good. It's up to you guys.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Exactly.
No preference.
Well, Jason, you're the DM. We'll let you make the decision.
Well, if we start now with what we're doing, I I don't know that we'll make it through that combat, so we'll have like a shorted episode the next one. So this is probably going to be the wrap up for the.
Oh well, we have to have Walt here in a full
Exactly.
party and a full session then for that for sure. Don't
Okay.
we? Tell me I'm wrong if I am.
No, I agree. I agree.
All right. So do we want to just punt to next week then?
Yeah, we can.
That sounds like a plan to me. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. All right, so listeners and viewers, sorry to disappoint you. We don't have enough players to do our game today, so we'll be trying it again next Monday. Hopefully, his Walt's wife's leg will be doing much better. So, thanks for checking out the BAMF podcast, and we'll see you in 7 days.
See ya.